No siren because we've given it a little bit of time to simmer and bake into our brains, but I had to come on with a special Not Sam Wrestling to chronicle the debut of Cero Miedo Pentagon in WWE. Penta is here. Of course, he's gone by many different names, from Pentagon Jr. to Pentagon El Cero M to Penta, now in WWE. And I felt like Monday night, first of all, Monday night was a great show. Very different Monday Night Raw from the Netflix Raw. I think Monday we got a taste of what this show is actually going to look like on Netflix, and I was very pleased with that. Pacing was good. Everything was good, but one of the big headlines going in, something we all knew was going to happen, and that's key, was this debut of Penta. I don't know if the fact that it was in San Jose had to do with the decision that was made to do it there, but obviously it was the right town to do it in because the crowd, it was a great reaction for him. But I think most importantly, it was a how-to in using the WWE machine to present somebody who already is a star as an even bigger star. When you hear people say, amplify, make even bigger, this to me is exactly what they're talking about. I mean, the thing that's great about Penta is it's almost like old school wrestling, not the in-ring stuff. But when you show someone a picture, all you need to do is show someone a still picture of Penta, and they instantly get what the attraction is, how cool all of this is. And I think that that's why that even if a lot of the WWE audience hadn't seen Penta before Monday Night Raw, there was still an anticipation. There's always going to be, right? When the hardcore fans have this anticipation about somebody coming in, whether everybody has seen this performer wrestle or not, that hype becomes contagious. And then when you just start to like Google image and see pictures of this Penta that's coming to the WWE, people get excited. And I think the result is what you got on Monday Night Raw. Of course, Penta is famous for the work he's done in AAA. I think stateside, he really broke through on Lucha Underground. You know, you can go back and see his matches with like Prince Puma. He wrestled Io Sky in Lucha Underground. There's so much history and backstory with so many WWE superstars that Penta actually has already interacted with. He had a run in Impact Wrestling. Of course, I would say most famously and certainly most recently, his whole run in AEW, where it started at the All In pay-per-view when he was wrestling Kenny Omega, and then it's a lot of classic matches that he had in AEW, the stuff that he and Ray Phoenix did against the Young Bucks, the matches that he had with Commander, with Ray Phoenix. There's a lot out there. But to me, it felt like Monday Night Raw was this moment where this new ride for Penta is beginning. And that ride is Penta stepping in to truly becoming this global superstar. Because the thing is, with all the presentation that was happening around Penta, what struck me was when you looked at him and the way he moved and the way he interacted with the audience, the way he walked, the way he spoke after the match. There was something, he was truly owning the moment. There are plenty of times when wrestlers get opportunities like this, and this happens to human beings in every field, not just professional wrestling, where the moment, to a degree, almost becomes too big for them. Where it's like, I mean, I felt like I deserved this. This is what I've been working for. But gosh, I didn't know it would feel like this. I don't know if I'm ready for this. There was none of that doubt with Penta, which is key because his catchphrase is literally zero fear. If there's ever an ounce of fear in that guy's face, it's over. And there wasn't. Okay? I thought that the entrance was great in terms of going like, okay, whether I'm familiar with Penta or not, prove to me that he's a superstar in the first moment that I see him. And what do we have? We have the arena going black. We have the aerial shot. So it's almost hard to tell that like the Tron above the ring that was kind of cubed off that said Penta is that first thing you see angling down towards the entrance. Fire cannons are spouting off behind him as Penta comes to the ring. And for me, what made me realize that this is the moment, we're here, Penta's owning it, and this is going to work is real simple. The strut. that walking down the aisle, there's nobody watching that isn't going, that's badass. Not everybody can pull that off. He can pull that off. That's badass. Before he even gets to the ring, you now see physically what he looks like in the WWE. You now get a feeling of his presence as he struts his way to the ring. And you immediately, if you're me, start concocting all these sort of fantasy dream matches that we're going to be able to see play out, of course, over the course of however long he's going to be a part of the WWE. There was a conversation because controversial, I would say, move was made to put Pentagon's merchandise, Penta, I keep calling him Pentagon, to put Penta's merchandise on sale before the debut. So the debut is promoted as Chad Gable is facing this mystery luchador, except without saying this is the guy who Chad Gable is going to be facing, the merchandise goes on sale earlier in the day on Monday. To me, in this specific instance, I thought it actually played out well. I thought that it played out well because everybody knew Penta was coming. Even if you're not on the internet, you knew Penta was coming, even just from the vignettes that have been on Raw. The way that sort of picture that they were showing started with just kind of the shape and then eyes and then started to form a face. And if you know, you real quick get the picture of who that is. But at the end, as of last week, it literally said the word Penta on it. There was no mystery as to whether or not this guy was coming. And the minute that Adam Pearce said, all right, you can face a luchador next week on Raw, Penta was on the tip of everybody's tongue. And so I thought that selling the merchandise and that picture coming out immediately, in this instance, I'm not saying this is right in every instance. I'm not saying get rid of all surprise debuts. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying this specific instance, I felt like it helped actually build hype because you're like, oh my God, this is really happening. Oh my God, look at this t-shirt. Oh my God, look at the mask. You can buy the mask. And I'm sure that they sold a ton of masks based on hype alone. And by the way, I'm sure they sold a ton more masks immediately after the match and over the course of this week. And the fact that you could go to the arena and start to see some of those t-shirts sprinkled around the arena already, start to see some of those masks sprinkled around the arena already, gave the feeling that we're seeing something special. It was real interesting, and nothing's by accident, that he was clearly over commentary positioned as maybe the second best luchador, they said, on the planet, only next to Rey Mysterio. Be very interesting if we get to a place where we want to settle that. Rey Mysterio has, I don't think, made any secret that he's got a lot more years behind him than he does in front of him. Rey said a couple of years ago that Dominic's career was very important to him, and that part of his current WWE run was to put Dominic on a road to success. And I would say that Dominic is on the road to success that Dominic is on has now been paved. It's good to go. We're ready to rock and roll. Dominic is in no trouble whatsoever. So now you start to wonder, like, we've seen 2 different matches between Rey Mysterio and Dominic, right? 2 or 3. We've had a WrestleMania match between Rey Mysterio and Dominic. We've had them tag up at WrestleMania. It's like, if Rey is theoretically going to have a last match anytime soon, and maybe he's not. I'm not hoping that Rey has a last match anytime soon. But a match between Penta and Rey Mysterio where, I mean, it just feels like a torch passing. I don't think Dominic any longer the torch has been passed to Dominic, quite frankly. And the idea of Dominic beating his dad and then having the torch passed when he's such a major villain, it's like you don't really want the feel-good moment at this point for Dominic. And we've had the feel-good moment, by the way. At this point, it's almost like, why not, now that we've used that power for Dominic Mysterio, and there is still a lot of power left, Penta is the next to receive the benefit of that. And I think that could be really, really effective because, I mean, in my own experience, in my own household, the minute Penta shows up, it's like, my kid is doing zero miedo. I mean, he's obsessed based on the look and then based on his style in the ring. I couldn't think of a better opponent to to start with than Chad Gable for a couple of reasons. Number one, I thought it showcased Penta's ability to go beyond what a lot of people perceive as the quote-unquote lucha style, where Chad Gable is one of the most spectacular pro wrestlers on the planet, and he has the ability to wrestle in a lot of different styles. But what we got to see are lucha elements combined with a very WWE style, and I think that that's essential. If we see a debut of Penta and it's purely lucha, it's almost like, okay, that was a great showcase, but what's going to happen when Penta is against this opponent, is against that opponent? I think somebody as athletic as Chad Gable allows you to see what Penta can do, allows you to see what it looks like when Penta's getting beaten up, because that's important too, and allows you to see how Penta is going to take his style of wrestling and incorporate it in with the WWE style, with the style that a lot of wrestlers in the WWE wrestle with. And I think to look at that debut and not be purely optimistic about the future of Penta in the WWE, for those reasons as well as everything else, is it's dishonest, really. I loved seeing Penta really take his time on Raw. He took his time to kind of react to the crowd, to interact with the crowd, to get them familiar with the hand gesture, to get them familiar with who he is. And I'm not talking about after the match. I'm talking about before the match. I'm talking about once the match began. I'm just a presence that Penta had to always be aware of the audience, I thought was really, really good. And again, something that really displayed a professional wrestler who is beyond ready for this moment that they're having. I also, as I'm looking at him, right, and I love, going back to his style, I love that we saw Canadian Destroyer, we saw the Penta Driver, we saw all these great moves. But I also love that as I was watching, I couldn't help but think, not too long ago in the WWE, somebody like Penta would come in, and it's such a great gimmick, and it's such a great look, that I think it would be tinkered with. And I think it would be turned into, really leaning into the skeleton part of it and the spooky, scary part of it, and turning Penta into something else. Turning Penta into kind of like an evil cartoon character. I think that would have happened. And it didn't. I'm so glad that it didn't. That in this era, it didn't happen. That instead of Penta turning into this like spooky, goofy cartoon character, Penta is just a straight badass. And what that does is, in this environment, in a WWE environment, it allows kids to be super into it just because it looks so cool, but it also allows adults to be like, yeah, dude, Penta is the man. Look at how badass this guy is. He looks like a scary-ass skeleton. He's got the coolest wrestling attire I've ever seen in my life. And oh yeah, he knocks the crap out of people. And he's a normal human being. He gets a mic and he speaks into it as a human being, as a person. It allows you to not only embrace the character, but connect on a human level. And I think that promo after the match really helped solidify that connection. Because in the promo, he's acknowledging the journey that he's been on. First of all, the idea that he's taken this Penta gimmick with him on the entire journey, that he is the gimmick and the gimmick is him, is one of my favorite stories that you can tell in wrestling. And to see Penta acknowledge the journey, to see him own not only the moment, but the era, the Netflix era, this is the Penta era, and to really, explain that this is what happens when somebody like him is given the opportunity. This is the journey that he's been on has put him here. And all of a sudden, it goes beyond the face paint and beyond the context and beyond everything. And it allows you to root for the man who has created the character that we're all appreciating and the performances that he not only gave us tonight, but he's going to be able to give us in the future. I mean, theoretically, we may see Penta in the Royal Rumble. Penta in the Royal Rumble. That means we have the chance of seeing Penta interact with Drew McIntyre. Penta interact with with CM Punk in a WWE ring, with Seth Rollins, with Roman Reigns. You know, we know George Kittle of the 49ers has been a Penta fan forever. He's done the Zero Miedo in games for years now. So the idea that this all comes in the family, to see Triple H take that picture and to be doing the hand gesture with him. And just the idea that Triple H is like, has the forethought to bring somebody like Penta in and realize, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. All the stuff that's working, let's not tinker with. And the stuff that we can elevate, let's elevate it and let's shoot it to the moon. I thought it couldn't have been a more successful debut for Penta on Raw. And it really is a showcase to wrestlers across the industry that if you're not in WWE and you really think you have the ability to be one of those larger-than-life stars, if you have that star power, that the WWE is still the place that is mastered, whether the WWE style of wrestling is your thing or not, whether the TV shows are your thing or not, whatever it is, the one thing that everybody has to say is that the WWE has mastered the art of showcasing a character as a star, as a larger-than-life star. I'm optimistic. I obviously you can hear it in my voice. You can feel it in me. I'm sure that I came off of that going like, perfect, man. Perfect. That's exactly what should be happening. It lets fans know that the world of wrestling is huge and that everybody wants to be in the WWE. When they get to the WWE, it's a big deal. It lets wrestlers know that the WWE is out there and watching and looking. And when it's time, maybe that'll be the spot for you. And if it is, then that ability to present a star is going to be there. And, I mean, it also lets fans know, like, as much as you've seen now, there's still so much more to come. I feel like I got to see Penta in the Rumble. I don't know yet if the Elimination Chamber is the spot for him. I'd like to see how things go over the next few weeks. And to see, because I think you have the opportunity to make the Elimination Chamber as star-studded as it's ever been. Now, over the next few weeks, we may realize that, yeah, as star-studded as it's ever been means Penta needs to be in that match. Very possible. But I'd like to see how it goes. And then I'd love to see him have some kind of big WrestleMania match. And maybe it is. Maybe the Rey Mysterio match is WrestleMania. I mean, I feel like there's no way Penta is a villain. You know, there's just something, you want to cheer for the guy. You want to get the shirt. You want to get the mask. There's no reason to do that. I think you can do good guy versus good guy, Penta versus Rey Mysterio, if that's where you're going to end up going. But I also think, like, I mean, imagine getting to the place where you're having, like, Braun Breaker versus Penta. To me, is an awesome match. The idea of getting there and, like, Braun Breaker has been tearing through people, but Penta, who, yes, as I said, there is a human being under all of this stuff. There is still an essence over that humanity. And Braun Breaker having to stare down that essence is cool. Karrion Kross, I think, would be a great opponent for Penta. And the idea that all of the mind games, the Final Testament play, maybe they won't work on Penta. Like, there's so much runway for this guy to get to. And I feel like just so much potential across the board. You're going to be able to get to a point where Penta has this amazingly unique place on a roster as star-studded as probably it's ever been. Loved the debut. Wanted to talk about it a little bit. Wanted to talk to you guys about it a little bit. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Make sure that you're with me in Indianapolis, Indiana, when we're at the Helium Comedy Club for a live Not Sam Wrestling podcast Thursday, January 30th, 5:30 p.m. Can't wait to see you guys there. I'll talk to you guys soon. I mean, Penta's here. I can't believe it.